Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Ooh. Gonna let notifications go for a second here. Pulling up some stuff. I am exhausted. That's how I feel. So, how about everybody else? What's up, Paul, Heidi, Bumblebee, to the moon? Wendy. Mama 3. Uh-oh. We got a full house. I'm still hungover from last night. I know. What a live. Good. I'm glad you guys are doing well. Got to see some new faces, or I should say new names. Hey, Nicole. Deanne, what's up? Vanessa. Talk about a morning. I just sent a DoorDash to Miss Portland. So, let's see. I want you guys to appreciate something I was able to look up and find for my Colorado upcoming trip before I get into this episode too. Donna, Gypsy, welcome. Wendy. I know she was so happy. Let's see how I can do this. Okay. You guys can take a look at this really quick. This is Colorado RCP30, and it's just law. And in Colorado, I can depose somebody, I guess you could say. And I could, here we go. So if I wanted to make sure that I got, testimony from a witness ahead of time to make sure that they don't plan on, committing perjury. So I found that. And then I also found under Colorado, I can do, there was a court case. It was in, what year? Drafts. It was about, people being out of town, out of the 100-mile radius, out of state. And that, yes, you can subpoena them, and yes, they can, be asked to come and testify. So, and it falls under the Colorado Rules 45. I thought I had that up here. Is this it? Oh, right here. It is Minnesota Attorney General versus District Court, 155 Colorado 521-524 Colorado 1964. Lastly and importantly, subpoenaed witnesses must be served in the state of Colorado, since Colorado courts have no jurisdiction in other states. If a Colorado court subpoena is served outside the state of Colorado, it will be ineffective. Accordingly, if an individual that needs to be subpoenaed resides outside of Colorado, additional measures will have to be taken, such as enlisting the help of the state courts where the witness resides. See Minnesota XREL, Minnesota Attorney General versus District Court. So this is case law, Colorado 1964. And it's important for what I'm doing. Let me share that though. That was what I wanted you guys to see. There it is. Hold on. Let me share this again. Right there. So there it is. I can make it bigger. There you go. So anyways, I've been doing some research on my own, stuff. I'm fighting for my First Amendment rights, as well as just the truth. So I would not want to be on the other end of your disposition. Thank you, Wendy. I take pride in that. Thank you. So, okay. But yeah, I found that, and it's really important for what I'm doing. When you send out a subpoena, you can send out 2 different kinds. You're asking someone to, obviously show up because they're going to be testifying. You could send a subpoena out to depose somebody. But you can also send out a subpoena to, attend and produce. And when you send out a subpoena to attend and produce, you are listing the material that you need them to bring, i.e. bank records, tax returns, things of that nature. You can ask for, medical stuff, and it can get signed off based on the relevancy that it pertains to in your, case. So, yeah, there's that. There's that in life. All right. Now that I got that out of the way, hopefully, we're going to move on here. Episode 2, you guys are going to hear the different parts of the closing for the defense, and then mixed in with some stuff that Lindsay's cousin and me talked about. I'll be pausing it to give, but I'm working backwards so that you guys can see. I think when you hear a summary and you're not familiar with the case, it helps. And then I start us from the beginning. And remember, my biggest things are timeline. So the timeline of this happening and the bruises and the type of trauma that, little Hannah suffered. Was that over time? Was it a one-time thing? And who's responsible? So let's go like this. Oh, and last but not least, with my stuff that's going on, if you guys want to go ahead and watch the episode I did on December 29th, I was here at my home when I did it, December 29th. Go ahead and watch that. And when you watch it, if anybody would like to take notes on it, and if you could help me out with this, the notes I need you to take, it's a 4-hour live, but only like an hour and a half to maybe hour and 45 minutes of it is relevant. The other stuff has to do with the Chris Watts case, when I did a recap for some people. But if you could look and see if you deem anything to be, if Miss Oriani, myself, admits that I was stalking anybody, that I was harassing anybody, that I was, anything that you would deem, oh my gosh, wow, I can't believe she said that type of thing. Okay, thanks. That would be December 29th, 2021. It's a really good live too. If you, so, all right, here we go. Hi, Kelly. It's good in the hood, girl. The weather's supposed to be getting a little bad, so we'll see what's going on. I have some undercover stuff coming up, so I'll be undercover doing things between Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I enjoy that stuff. All right.
Zoom has helped.
And it's the same burden of proof required by the state of Ohio, whether the charges are murder or a speeding ticket. That's what we have. And I am not going to show you more pictures of Hannah Leshy. I'm not going to do that. That's evoking sympathy for this child, and I have sympathy, and so does my client. That's very apparent when you listen to her 911 call, and I'm not going to play that again for you. You are welcome to listen to it. What the state alleges is that in the 30 seconds Lindsay Partin had her, she both injured her and came up with a story like that. That she told on the 911 call, that she told to Jason Weshy when he came in the door, that she told to the EMT, that she told to Deputy Mayor, that she told to Detective Sprague, that she told to Detective Lambert, that that's the story. And it is the same thing, consistently, that she told to the police on 3/8, her first interview, and 3/9, until this man and the other detective said, something happened, something happened, something happened, 23 times. They said, I don't want to hear what you already said. Where have we heard that phrase? I don't want to hear? Isn't it odd that Jason Weshy said the same thing about Detective Turner? That when he told him out here, in the hallway, the morning of Detective Turner's testimony, that, oh gosh, I just remembered, Chris Davis was at my house too. He says, I don't want to hear that. The state of Ohio's burden is to hear that. The state of Ohio's burden is to investigate. And they have wholly failed to do so.
Okay, this is an important part, so I'm going to rewind this right here. So when I was doing my notes, right here, the dad is Jason.
She told Detective Sprague, that she told to Detective Lambert, that that's the story. And it is the same thing, consistently, that she told to the police on 3/8, her first interview, and 3/9, until this.
So the defense attorney right here is reiterating that her story's never changed. It's always been the same thing. That's what she's saying right now.
This man and the other detective said, something happened, something happened, something happened, 23 times. They said, I don't want to hear what you already said. Where have we heard that phrase? I don't want to hear? Isn't it odd that Jason Weshy said the same thing about Detective Turner? That when he told him out here, in the hallway, the morning of Detective Turner's testimony, that, oh gosh, I just remembered, Chris Davis was at my house too. He says,
Chris Davis was at my house too. So now we're putting right there, we're now putting another person. So the people that Hannah would have been in a contact with. Jason, her dad, Lindsay, and now, oh, Chris Davis was there. Chris Davis was at my house too. Wait, what? And this is what her cousin was saying, is that there should have been a mistrial. We should have probably said there should have been a mistrial. And this is kind of what I was alluding to last night with the stuff with NA. Oh, wait, now all of a sudden NA was in the house too? Like that type of thing. This is what you would be avoiding being said in a trial.
I don't want to hear that. state of Ohio's burden is to hear that. The state of Ohio's burden is to investigate, and they have wholly failed to do so. They did what they don't even do on Scooby-Doo. They decided who did it. She's the box. They checked it. Our needs met. A child is dead or a child is seriously injured, and they have decided that it is Lindsay Partin's box because she gave that statement to Detective Turner. And what do we know about that? He can't come off that now. He cannot come off, and neither can the Sheriff's Department come off Lindsay Partin did it. And you know why? Detective Turner got lead investigator for that. He'd never had a lead investigation for a murder. He'd never had a lead investigation for a child endangering charge. He got Lindsay Partin after an hour, in addition to the 2 hours she had the day before, to tell them what he told her. You heard it. He said, accident, 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 fall, 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 drop, 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 whiplash. He said those things. Hensley said those things. And then, when he got her confession, I want you to remember this specifically, because I heard it. They're leaving the room. Please feel free to listen to it. They're leaving the room, and she basically says, well, what's going to happen? And the two detectives both say, well, we don't even know if there are charges on this. Did you hear them say that? We don't even know if there are charges on this. And then they left the room. And then they left the room. I hope you also heard that at the very end of that 4 hours that she sat there, for 4 hours, that Detective Turner laughed at her at the end of it too.
Now, I appreciate the one thing that this woman does because I think it's important for juries to hear. I'm not a huge fan of her defense, so I'm going to make that perfectly clear. But with this diagram and the wording, I thought that's really good because you have to think about who are your jury, like who makes up your jury. Like these aren't like true criming sleuths, you know what I'm saying? So these are just you gotta dumb it down.
They have a dead child, and they needed to charge somebody. This is how the evidence, in fact, and it's the state's evidence, doesn't fit into the Lindsay Partin box. 4 things. 1, timing evidence. 2, medical evidence. 3, false confession. And we know it's false because what do we know? Blunt impact to the head. That's what she had. 4, history provided. That's what we know. I'm going to lead off just with Jason Weshing. So while it's understandable that the Sheriff's Department wanted to find someone to charge because of the bruising, because of what they see and what's happening with this child, what did they not do? And I'm sure the prosecutor's going to get up and say, oh, it's, she just kept pointing to what we didn't do. But if you don't even think about what they didn't do, are you kidding me? So on March 8th, they go out to 3004 Shank Road, and they take photographs of Jason Weshing's house. Show all of those photos. The kitchen, the bedroom, bathroom. I think there was a living room. That's what you saw. And when they take those photographs, maybe Detective Turner doesn't know anything about the photographs. I don't know, because he said he wasn't working this case on the 8th of March. But on the 8th of March, Detective Hensley had worked that case and had participated. Maybe he didn't know what the refrigerator had in it, the cupboards had in it, or what I should say is the lack thereof. Jason Weshing was consistent with his statement because they asked him, what did you do the night of the 7th? And he said, I picked up my child, I went to Walmart for milk, then we came home, and we were on the couch. I'm sorry, first she played in her room for 10 minutes. Really? And then she fell asleep on the couch. He was consistent with that. Consistent to the detectives at Fort Hamilton. Consistent to the social worker at Children's Hospital. Consistent to the detectives at Children's Hospital. Consistent. Okay. Well, on March 9th, Detective Turner got Lindsay Partin to say, I shook. And that's enough for them. They stopped there. Stop. And you gotta wonder, when is it that the detective got the video from Walmart that showed no Jason Wesche and no Hannah Wesche at Walmart? And you gotta wonder how that conversation went. How about this? Don't pay attention to that. That doesn't fit into her box. Lindsay already said she shook her. That's enough for us.
Okay, so what the attorney's talking about right here is when they were at Jason's, there is no milk in the home. There is no milk. There's no video of them going to Walmart. But nobody cares about that? Nobody cares about that? I mean, wait, what? Like, hey, Lana, what'd you do yesterday? I wasn't alive with AD for, I don't even know, 5-15. Okay, so you're at your house. I was at my house almost all day. You go anywhere? Yeah, I got Chinese delivered. What else? Yeah. I was around. Did you go to any stores? No, don't think so.
Is that the evidence you want to rely upon to convict an innocent person? Is that the evidence? I submit to you it is not. So he's consistent in that. You might say, well, gosh, Jason Wesche, he didn't say anything, and I think the prosecutor said that. That's right, he didn't. He was never put in an interview room. He was never taken to the station. He wasn't sat in a room for 4 hours. He wasn't shown photographs of this child. Was he? No. He sat at the hospital, and I give them credit. He's the father. But what did you just hear in this whole case? Ms. Sheehan just said it. Well, gosh, she was like the mom to her. So we treated dad differently, but the pseudo mom, the one that had it for 12 hours, is different. They showed her the photographs, and worse yet, they told her she was dead. Dead. They didn't tell Jason that. And they certainly didn't sit him in a room for 2+ hours on one day and 4 hours on the next day, including something happened and it was you or her. But you know what? Jason Wesche knew. And if you didn't hear that, Jason Wesche told Lindsay Partin it was an aneurysm at Children's Hospital. And this is after the surgery, because she doesn't get there till the afternoon, and you'll see in the records that the surgery's over at 10:55. And the surgeon's notes indicate that they came out to talk to them about how grave this was. That's in the record. So when Lindsay Partin comes down there from, I think it was 3 to 8:30 or something like that, he's telling her it's an aneurysm. And Lindsay Partin told you she had a conversation with him. And after that conversation, she believed it was okay to discipline Hannah and that she should tell the police that. That's what she said. Doesn't that fit right in with Jason Wesche? And you know how it fits in? Jason Wesche abused his child. Jason Wesche knew about all the bruises. He bathed her, he changed her clothes. And that's proof. He told them, I gave her a bath 2 nights ago and she had a butt cheek bruise. He said it was a butt cheek bruise. And you remember me asking him questions about that? Because there are 2 bruises on her back. One right on her butt cheek and one slightly above it. And he couldn't remember which one it was. Is that because he did it and he didn't know? He couldn't identify these bruises? Have they never shown him the bruises until he showed up here? And if that's true, did you see his lack of emotion? I've never seen someone so emotionless about that. I looked over at you all when you looked at the photographs, and you weren't emotionless. And they're up on a big screen for you. What should the detectives have known was a lie, had they bothered to look? Walmart trip number 1. Milk. Because there's no milk in that fridge. No milk. Cereal. Not a box of cereal in that cupboard. And did you see any sink dishes or anything like that? All they had to do was look. How about the plate in the room for 10 minutes? I mean, Jason struggled to try to find toys to play with in that room. He came up with some story that she was someone who could lift up that crib mattress. And the last lie, nobody's been to my house. Well, I found that pretty implausible because I submit to you that if you had looked at exhibits J 1 through 13, is this on? Is the video on? I want them to see it. Okay. Thank you. I submit to you that if you'd even bothered to open up this roll of film, and I know that's archaic, I'm old. And that's the word you come into your head. Your verdict is not guilty. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you had a doubt based in reason and common sense, your verdicts are not guilty. That is what the law demands of you. That is what the law demands. It's not reasonable explanation. I love to use my chart because people who are not attorneys have a really hard time with that word, reasonable doubt. So just like when we were asking the doctors questions about trying to figure out what they meant by relatively, here are some words. If after hearing the evidence in this case, you think that Lindsay Partin did the things that they've accused her of, and that's the word you come into your head, your verdict is not guilty.
See, like, I think that's awesome. Right there, to me, that's awesome. If you think that she did what they said, it's still not guilty. I think she did it. It's still not guilty. And I think that's probably the best thing that this woman said.
If you think it's probably that Lindsay Partin did this, your verdict is not guilty. And on and on and on. And I'm coming down here because these are things that lots of people say. clear and convincing evidence, strong suspicion, might have. These are the words that do not equate to proof beyond a reasonable doubt. All of those words means not guilty. That is a very important legal concept that I ask that you seriously consider, because it could be State of Ohio versus juror number 2 or 3 or 4. That's the same burden. And it's the same burden of... And if you didn't hear that, Jason Wesche told Lindsay Partin it was an aneurysm. At Children's Hospital, I'm not sure which one did it, and opened the suitcase. And what do you see lying within the suitcase? Men's clothing.
This is your home. This is your family room / gym. The guest bedroom / music studio. The day bed / dog bed. The living room
Plain as day. Do you see any little... But
Sorry,
you know
there you
why
go.
they didn't bother about the suitcase? Because they'd already charged Lindsay Partin. They'd already charged her with shaking. I will give a hand to the detective who took the photographs, though, because he was thorough. So he went over, or she, I'm not sure which one did it, and opened the suitcase. And what do you see lying within the suitcase? Men's clothing. Plain as day. Do you see any little kids' clothing in there? Someone got it in the wrong spot. There we go. No? And what else do you see in there, which is something the detectives didn't do? There's some paper in there. I think Chris Davis's name is on that. I sure would like to know. Because if they bothered to open that up and knew Chris Davis back in March of 2018, I would hope that they would have gone to talk to him. I would hope. Because that's what I want from our police force. Just as Lindsay Partin trusts the police. That's what we all want our police to do. Whether they're called a detective or a police officer. We all want them to do their job and find out things and not stop. But that's what we have is they stop. I found it interesting, and I hope that you all picked up on it, because the phrase that Detective Turner used in the November 2018 supplement he wrote to his report of investigation. So he does this report of investigation, and he, according to his testimony, he has it completed in April, and it's a compilation of all of the detectives' things that they've done. And then he updates it by the end of April in an updated report of investigation. And that's the last time he updates. And then according to his testimony, sometime in November of 2018, he did a little supplemental paragraph. And the supplemental paragraph began with, on or about March 10th, 2018, I had a telephone call with Jason Wesche. And I asked him about why he's not on the video at Walmart. And he said, oh, I must have just forgotten. I usually buy 4 or 5 gallons of milk a week, and it just, must have just been, something else. We've heard about the date things are created in a computer system. But that on or about 310. And Detective Turner's testimony was that was a mere discrepancy. A mere discrepancy. Let me read you the definition of discrepancy. I'll do my best to find it. I know it's in here. Discrepancy. a lack of compatibility or similarity between two or more facts. Such as, there's a discrepancy between your account and his. We do have some discrepancies. They're in the doctor's opinions. But in terms of Jason Wesche and the things he told the detectives and social worker on the day of March 8th, there isn't a discrepancy about milk, but that's how Detective Turner wants you to think of it.
This is bias.
That's not a discrepancy. It's a misstatement. It's a lie. It's a hiding of the truth. And why do you think Jason Wesche, oh my gosh, remembered Chris Davis? Chris Davis was at my house a month and a day. And he says it was because Chris Davis told him. Okay. Well, I have some land somewhere for you if you'd like to buy that. Because
a month and a day later. Oh, by the way, Chris Davis was at my house 1 month and 1 day after. Why even mention it at all? I mean, were these people on drugs? When you're out of it, blasted, high as a kite, you don't remember detail.
that's impossible. So the suitcase is at his house. So when he moves out of 4004 Shank Road after Hannah dies, he doesn't go, gosh, whose suitcase is this in Hannah's room? Oh yeah, Chris did. Well, better yet. Chris says, hey, where's my suitcase with my clothing in it? No? Jason Wesche knew all along that Chris Davis was there. He hid that fact. And how many days was Chris Davis there? Was he there on the 5th and the 6th and the 7th? Did he really leave on the 7th, the evening of the 7th? Or did they all go out and then come back at some point in time? How would we know this? Investigation. Chris Davis was spoken in this room from that witness stand. Detective Turner said out in the hallway, he didn't want to hear it. Well, I wanted to hear it. My client charged with murder wanted to hear it. Chris Davis, I don't know who he is. They don't even know who he is. Do we know anything about him? No. Do we even know if the name exists? I don't know. But we
I am going to be covering the full trial because I'm going to be doing all my investigative stuff in real time with you guys. So, Vicky, you can watch it here right with us. But what I'm doing is I'm working backwards. So I wanted you guys to at least see what we're working with, and then we're going to start from the beginning. When you don't know a case, it's like a movie, you flash forward, and then this is how I chose to
we
do
don't
this
know
one.
that. You didn't hear any evidence about that, did you? And whose job is that? Whose job
Cheers.
is that to look at all of those things? And so if we'd had Jason Wesche's phone for the times of March 5th to the 8th, we sure would know if it was really a Chris Davis or who it was and where he'd been, because cell phones are a treasure trove of information. They provide you text messages, emails, social media posts, instant messages. I mean, it's everything. 33,000 pages. It also does something really interesting. Triangulates cell phone pings. So if Jason Wesche's story about going to Walmart had been also tried to retract with his cell phone, would it have said he went to Walmart? Would it have said he'd come back home? Or would it have said, me and my friend Chris were out all night?
That's what I get to get my hands on. There's all these digitals. Yeah, baby. Yeah, well, his mom's taking a shower. As soon as she's done, he's going to play. I got you, boy.
No, Mom, I want to play Roblox anymore.
Okay. We got...
Could we make sure on YouTube?
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to do that?
Ohio. What do you want to do, baby?
I want to make...
Okay. So I'm going to have 33,000 pages. 33,000 pages. You guys lost your minds? What? But I'll be able to pick out the relevant stuff because that's what I do. But when I found all this stuff out and there's just all this discovery, I was like, well, there's no way that they PI'd it. There's just no way, but I know that I could. And so 33,000 pages. Good thing I like to read. Hi, Susan. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I'm new to this channel and so excited to be here. We're excited to have you, Susan. Welcome. So, yeah, this is the Lindsay Partin case, and working directly with, Fight for a Family, my nonprofit, and we're working directly with the family. So we're going to see what we can do. I'm obviously in Ohio, so this is close to me. And we did the first episode, which was the prosecution's closing. Now we're doing the defense's closing because I wanted to work backwards just with this part, and then we're going to be, from the beginning. But we also need to get Lindsay new evidence.
And, Hannah didn't get any sleep, and it is what it is. She's going to babysitters in the morning anyways. Sure would have told us where he was and who he was with and who he was texting with. That's their job. They have that power and they have that burden. And that is why the burden is on the state of Ohio. Before you can find a defendant, a person, not the word defendant, I hate using that word. She's a person just like you are. Before you can find a person guilty of these offenses, you have to, because that's the duty you've been sworn to, and that is how the judge will instruct you. You have to find the state of Ohio has proven beyond a reasonable doubt those elements. And we're going to the elements we don't dispute. We don't dispute that Hannah's dead. We don't dispute that Lindsay was in Butler County. That's just ridiculous. It's their burden on the really important elements. The really important elements.
No, I actually have to PI it because we need new evidence. We need new evidence. So we're going to need to find new evidence, which is going to lie in possibly finding something from the research and then going out and getting it from a new person, getting someone to, change their statement, getting somebody to come forward or, So in order to find new evidence, you just got to start from the beginning. That's my opinion on it.
The burden of proof, and I'm going to hammer on that because it's important. Because it's not just a reasonable explanation. That's just wrong. The burden of proof, like I said, same proof, murder, theft, shoplifting, speeding. They must present evidence. And it can be direct and it can be circumstantial. I give them that. But evidence. And for the prosecutor to say, no way to know, and that's enough for you all, that's not true. That's not true. I submit to you the evidence you've heard in the last 8 days. This is not that case. This is not the case of proof beyond reasonable doubt. So let me go back to my 4 points, medical evidence, because I think that the prosecutor kind of skimmed over that, and it was interesting. First off, there's a couple things that are important about the medical evidence. There's actually 6. Number 1, timing medically as it relates to brain swelling, lucid interval, and force. As it relates to those, the most important point is that Dr. Spitz, okay, let me back. So the prosecutor said, well, God, he got paid $7,000. And she phrased it as to give that testimony. No, he was paid as an expert to review the medical evidence and give you a medical opinion. You don't think that the state of Ohio doctors get a paycheck?
All she has to say is that he was paid for his time. Everybody should be paid for their time. Okay? Scott Roeder, he gets paid for his time. That's work. At the end of it, whatever I tell you that comes from it, and then if you want me to testify, so be it. But you're paid for your time that it takes to look at it, do whatever it is that you're the expert for. If it's for ballistics, if it was for, whatever it may be for. So when the prosecution says that stuff and brings up the money thing, well, then let's bring up how much money are you getting to prosecute this? I mean, what the fuck? That stuff pisses me off.
Does that sound plausible? So where was I? Dr. Spitz is the only doctor.
This defense attorney just blows her own leg off. You have to win over the jury. Okay? You can't be condescending to them. You can't be a smartass to them. I need you to believe in my story and what I'm telling you. Defense attorneys, whether they want to, they're a salesperson. I got to sell you this. And you could say, no, that's not true. Yeah, it is. Because you have to think about human beings. Fuck, if they hate you, oh my God, I can't stand. I could, blah, blah. And then what do? They're going to give the benefit of the doubt somewhere else. So I hope that this woman, whoever this attorney is, watched herself, because it's just, I didn't go into 80s live last night, being a condescending prick. But private, paid a lot of money for. Yeah, I'm really happy about the Bengals too. I'm obviously a Browns fan, but I'm a big Joe fan. So
The only doctor that explained lucid interval. The only doctor. And he indicated, without question, without good cross-examination to get him off his opinion, that lucid interval turns on the brain swelling and the pace of the swelling. And he talked about that. And he talked really slow, and I kind of like that. He's got that great accent. And he said, there will be immediate and quick swelling with greater force. Immediate and quick swelling. And without the greater force, you're going to have an interval. In Hannah's case, let me step back. What did he give you opinions as to what would show greater force? Skull fracture? Coup and counter coup? Or, if the impact's here, coup and counter coup? And brain bruising. And those are three things that are absent from the medical evidence. You didn't hear a single doctor say that there was a skull fracture. I know you all took notes, and I bet you all agree with that. Not a single doctor said there was a skull fracture. And in regard to the coup and counter coup, Dr. Spitz explained that upon impact, you'll have a coup. So we have 2 doctors who saw the impact. 2 of all these doctors saw this impact. And I'm not going to show you the photograph. I know it's ingrained in your memory. Dime size, as he described it. Back of head, he showed you how a skull would hit a flat surface. Coup. So if you have a great force, coup, counter coup. There's no counter coup in the inside of her head. None. So this isn't a great force. The impact is not great. It did cause not bleeding in the brain. It caused brain swelling. And because the impact was not so great, you're going to have that interval. Other doctors failed to address that. The prosecutor's doctors never explained their timing opinions. I wholly disagree with the prosecutor's use of this term for Dr. Kari. She said timing within seconds, because here were the Correa, sorry, I mispronounced everybody's name. Dr. Correa said these words, and I hope you all wrote them down too. I can't say 20 minutes or 1 hour. I correlate my findings with what clinically is going on. I can say it wasn't the day before. She used the term relatively immediate. Correct within hours. I can say injury not days ago. She kept saying that. But then she said, I cannot say what specific time it was. So she can't say it was 20 minutes. She can't say it was an hour. But she can't say days. So she rules out days. But within hours and minutes, that's where she's at. And she said that's not her job. That's not her job to decide. But I submit to you, it's the job of the prosecutor to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that time. And you know why? Because that's reasonable doubt. That says this child was injured somewhere else, not in the 30 seconds, not in the minute that Lindsay Partin had her. Because I'm talking about the death. I'm going to come back to the bruises in a bit. But I'm talking about the death, because that's really why we're here. That is really why we're here. And the prosecutor can say, well, you know, there's involuntary manslaughter and there's the murder. There's one child who died. One child. They're charging one act of Lindsay, that's what happened on that day. And they charge in different ways. Because they don't know. They don't know. And the biggest thing they don't know is that timing. And that timing is everything. That timing is not guilty. The most important of your affairs. The most important of your affairs. Because it is certainly the most important of my client's affairs. As it should be in anyone who is facing a murder charge. Anyone. But it wasn't the most important thing to the detectives, because the most important thing to them was to get a confession, get someone pinned down, put in the box, and then we just stop. In regards to the prosecutor's doctors not being able to explain timing, they couldn't define the time from injury to onset. They use words like shortly, immediately, relatively immediately, and Mr. Pagan really tried to get them to say, what do those things mean? Because we're talking about seconds. In contrast, Dr. Spitz said timing could be immediate and up to a full day, depending upon the force. But because there was no evidence of force in this case in terms of skull fracture, coup or counter coup, brain hemorrhage, and bruising. And don't confuse brain hemorrhage with brain swelling. And don't confuse subdural hematoma with brain, because that's outside the brain. Dr. Dean said, no idea how much time Hannah had with this injury, not my role. Blunt impacts explain all the injuries to the head. Cause of death to a reasonable degree of medical certainty was traumatic brain injury. Probably unresponsive within moments. That's about the best we could get. Mr. Pagan asked several of the doctors about what is the degree of certainty for a doctor's opinion to be within the reasonable degree of medical certainty. The words were like possibly or probably from a couple different doctors. Are those on this chart? Oh yeah, they're way up here. So for a medical opinion, you only got to be up here. Only up here. Number 3 in regards to the medical. Timing is premised upon history. Mr. Pagan asked several doctors about this. The history given. And what is and who did we get a history from? We got it from Jason Wesche. And what do we know about his history? It's a big fat lie. He's either covering up for himself or covering up for his friend, Mr. Davis. I don't know who. But the history given to the doctors. Macroff said this specifically. Yes, it's actually in her book. And the chapter of the book she wrote, that history as given is very important to making a diagnosis. History. And so if the historian is a big fat liar, you aren't going to have a good history and you can't base it upon anything. So in addition to the milk and the cereal and the Walmart trip and the Chris Davis issue, he lied about where Hannah was on the evening of March 7th. And Wesche lied about the suspected abuse when he told Lindsay that it was an aneurysm. And he said that on the stand, that he told her it was an aneurysm. I'm going to take a segue here. So let's say I'm at the hospital and my daughter, who is the most precious thing to me in the whole world, is hurt. And the doctor comes out and tells me she's got a traumatic brain injury, she is not likely to survive, and we believe it's abuse. And I know that she's been at the babysitter's, just the babysitter and me. And then the babysitter shows back up at the hospital to pray with me and hold hands. I'd be in a defendant's chair because I'd choke that person. I would be livid beyond belief. And I suspect you all would too. But what does he do? He prays with her, sits and talks with her, and tells her aneurysm. Chew on that one for just a little bit. Think about how you all would feel if your child were injured at the hospital and it's you or that person. And you've been talking to the doctors.
All right, guys, that's going to be part 1 of this 2-part episode. I'll be back later around 9
The Patsy in this case.
Eastern Standard, 9:30.
She's his Patsy.
So we're going to finish up the closing here, and then I will start a timeline and names and all that stuff. So I will, the way that you can have all the information that I do will be on the website, will be the, PDFs that I post. And it's a real-time, real crime investigation like I do. So, but before I close this out, what do you guys think so far? What do you think about, wrong one. How I look at the expert testimony? When you can have a couple different possibilities, it's like that unknown. Like it could be this and it could be that. Okay. So we don't know for sure, right? No one's testifying. Not both sides are testifying and saying, yep, this is what happened. So I want to know, how do they think Hannah got that, big old dime size which last time I checked, though, a dime really isn't that big.
You never use it on your papers, Elsie. You use it
What do you mean?
on your work paper.
Oh, on this? You want me to use it on this?
Yeah, use it on your
Okay.
work.
Jax wants me to start using. Let me just show everybody so they can make sure I do it when I'm doing my work. Here, grab this. Oopsies.
That the most common
Oopsies.
pathophysiological.
Gosh. I have to start using, according to Jax, this big old clicker pen. It has all different colors in it. Right? What colors are going to be your favorite, you think?
That one.
Orange?
And,
Black?
And that one. And that one. And all of them.
You want me to use, okay, so each letter, or no, each word, each sentence, I'll switch it up. Bless you.
All right.
Thank you, Heidi. Achoo. It's my home team right here. Is my, thank you, Darcy. Are you my little private eye?
I'm your dad.
You're my daddy? Well, then can you make me dinner, Dad?
No,
No?
it'd be mean.
Aww. Do I have to go on timeout, Dad?
Yeah, go.
Oh, okay. Where's my timeout at?
You have to jump on the Christmas tree 100 times.
100 times. I gotta take this call.
Cut out for 150.
All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Much love. Peace, love, and happiness. Hold on 1 second. Hello? I got the prisons calling me. Hello?
Hello?
Maybe she fell backwards on a broken stick outdoors. Not bad.